Hello everyone.
Today we will learn more about elasticity of labor demand. First of all, in general, what is elasticity?
Elasticity is a measure of a variable's sensitivity to a change in another variable. In business and economics, elasticity refers to the degree to which individuals, consumers, or producers change their demand or the amount supplied in response to price or income changes. Moreover, in this video, we are going to talk about the types of the elasticity of labor demand.
There are three types of elasticities of labor demand: the own wage elasticity of labor demand, the cross elasticity of labor demand, and the elasticity of substitution.
Let's first start with the own wage elasticity of labor demand. The own wage elasticity of demand for labor is the percentage change in quantity of labor demanded divided by percentage change in the wage.
The elasticity of labor demand can range from 0 to minus infinity. It is 0 in the case when a given change in the wage would have no effect on the quantity of labor demanded, while it is minus infinity in the case when the demand schedule would be horizontal or perfectly elastic.
On the other hand, when we want to know the change on the demand for skilled workers, when the price of unskilled workers rise or fall, we can use the cross elasticity of labor demand.
The cross elasticity of labor demand can be negative and positive. It is positive when the factors are gross substitutes, and it is negative when the factors are gross complements. To understand the cross elasticity of labor demand, let's look at an example. If the wage of skilled workers increases, and if the employer will hire more unskilled labor, then we clearly know that they are substitutes.
On the other hand, when the price of skilled workers increases and the employer hires less of unskilled workers, in this case, factors are gross complements.
We should keep in mind that gross complements and gross substitutes are not the same as the complements and substitutes.
In deciding whether factors are substitutes or complements, we look only at the substitution effect. But when we consider the question of whether factors are gross substitutes or gross complements, we also look at the scale effect.
To understand better, let's take an example with sales assistants and managers. If the price of sales assistants will decrease, then stores would substitute sales assistants with managers. But the question is, how can we distinguish if they are gross complements or if they are gross substitutes?
If the price of sales assistants falls, the cost of retail services would be lower, and via the scale effect, it could increase the demand for products sold in the store, and it also will increase the demand for stores manager. If the scale effect is greater the substitution effect, then the cross elasticity of demand would be negative. Managers and sales assistants would be gross complements. But in the case when the substitution effect is stronger than the scale effect, then these two are gross substitutes.
Another very important labor-related measure of elasticity is the elasticity of substitution. This indicates the effect that a change in relative factor prices will have on the relative amounts of the two factors utilized, for example capital and labor. However, the output is held constant.
Now, let's explore the elasticity of substitution. If the elasticity of substitution is 0, any change in the wage rate relative to the price of capital will result in no change in the capital-labor ratio. However, if the elasticity of substitution is positive, any change in the wage rate relative to the price of labor results in the rise of the capital-labor ratio.
When it comes to the question of how elastic is the demand for labor, we should look at the Marshall-Hicks determinants of labor demand elasticity.
According to the Marshall-Hicks determinants, the demand for labor will tend to be less elastic when the price elasticity of demand for the product or service produced by that labor is low and the substitute for the labor is impossible.
The third condition of the Marshall-Hicks determinant states that when labor expenses are of low percentage of total cost, then labor demand is less elastic, and also when the supply of substitutes for labor is inelastic.
Thank you for watching our video on elasticity of labor demand. I hope you enjoyed it.
Created using Powtoon.